Do your builds in Minecraft always come out looking like a giant turd? Well, in this video, I'm going to be counting down my top 5 tips on how you can take your builds from this to this. But first, it seems that only a small percent of you that are seeing this are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you like the video today, consider subscribing. It would be great to have you as part of the community. Number 5. If you're only using one block for a wall, you can do better. Here are 2 identical walls that I built in my creative world. I bet you can see where I'm going with this, but the wall segment with andesite mixed in looks a lot better than just the cobblestone, because it adds variety and different textures to keep people looking at it. This doesn't just work for walls either, you can use different types of wood blocks to make your floors look a bit more worn and lived in. This is one of the simplest things you can do to actually level up your builds, and I've got 4 more. Number 4. Don't be afraid to take a step out of your comfort zone and use some blocks you're not familiar with. One of the best examples of this is diorite and acacia wood. So I challenged myself in my creative world to make a build making use of both of them in the same build. So I've made this really cool house with the same tip as number 5, using the acacia, stripped acacia, orange terracotta and red sandstone, as well as using the polished diorite for the trim of the build. This, in my opinion, looks really cool and you can see some different variants of it here. But that just goes to show how using these kinds of tips makes your builds look so much better. Number 3. Getting inspiration. There are hundreds of builders on Instagram, Pinterest and TikTok, and they are a great way to inspire your builds. I'm not just saying copy the builds, because don't do that. But you can look at what other people are doing and look at recreating builds in your own style. You can look at either their block palette, their shape of the build, the style, and a lot more as well. There's a couple of builders that I follow on Instagram that I really recommend as well. The first is Sir Lime, who is a Brazilian builder and makes some of the most colourful, artistic and functional builds I have ever seen. The next is Claire1593, who makes builds inspired by real life architecture and does an incredible job doing it as well. Number 2. Don't waste your time practicing in survival. I've already mentioned it a couple of times as that's where I design most of my builds, but make yourself a single creative world to put all of your designs in and practice your building. It's a lot faster than the trial and error method in a survival world, and will save you a ton of time while also giving yourself the freedom to experiment with different block types without having to farm the resources you need to do it. Whether or not you make it a super flat world or a regular generated world is up to you. But I use a super flat world because I like to design landscapes as well, which brings me to my final tip. Tip number 1. Mods are your friends. If you are dedicated to being a great builder and improving your skills as one in Minecraft, invest your time in learning mods that help with that. My favourite mod to help me with building is World Edit. It lets me make large changes quickly, which lets me design landscapes and large builds that I can bring into my survival world with a lot of time saved. Another mod that I learned about recently is Lightmatica, which is a mod that allows you to save a schematic and place it in another world where you can trace it. This would save a lot of time in going back and forth with the worlds to check your designs, because you could just print the schematic into your survival world and trace the build that you have already designed in creative. And those are my top 5 tips on how you can make yourself a better builder in Minecraft. I hope that these tips are ones that you haven't seen anywhere else before, because I wanted to pick tips and tricks that I haven't seen around on YouTube as much, so that I can help you guys improve your builds in any way that I can. If you learned something new, hit that subscribe button. My goal for 2022 is 30,000 subscribers, so let's get there together.